Hi everyone, I'm Isha. I'm the editor-in-chief of Scientia, and I'm here with Nicole Wire, the author of Incompleteness and Not Just Right Experiences, A New Perspective on OCD. And we're going to talk a little bit about her review paper. So what was the purpose of your paper?
So the initial purpose of my paper started out really different from what it ended up being in the end. So kind of took a non-traditional route for starting this research. So I was involved in the Be True program last year. And because it was the first year that was online, we were able to explore a new way of research online, and that was through writing a lit review. So, and we can do it on any topic. And I had never really done research before or written an article. So I took this as an opportunity and to learn more about OCD, which was something I was really interested in, but never had the opportunity to look more into. So the more I looked into OCD, the more I learned about like the specific motivators, like what causes the compulsions. And I found this really interesting motivator called not just right experiences and incompleteness. So that kind of led into my final purpose of the paper, which was to consolidate the research on how not just right experiences and incompleteness play a role in OCD, and also explore the relationships that these motivators had with other mental disorders like obsessive compulsive personality disorder. And then from there, describe how treatment has improved by including this new motivator. And, and then finally, including encouragement for more representative samples to fully understand the impact of these new motivators. And then most importantly, raise awareness about how OCD is, like what's caused by it, and kind of the outcome of that. So I guess just a little overview about what my paper was about. So the broader topic was about OCD, and just for context, OCD consists of two parts: obsessions, which are kind of like unwanted, intrusive thoughts that can cause anxiety or distress, and compulsions, which are behaviors to alleviate these emotions that come with obsessive thoughts. And OCD has been studied for over 100 years, and it has symptoms including like ordering and symmetry, which is what most people think about when they hear OCD, but it also includes checking and mental rituals and even washing. So, in the media, OCD can be a little trivialized, and you can often hear, like, oh, my OCD was the cause of me having my closet organized in color or something like that. So making it almost sound like an admirable trait. But so this shows how that there's still a lot of misunderstanding around the disorder. And that was kind of one thing I wanted to address with this paper too. So in the many decades of OCD research, the main motivator, so the main kind of cause of the compulsions, was kind of known for harm avoidance, which is kind of like the anxiety that comes from feared consequences. And you perform different types of compulsions to kind of alleviate that distress. And um, although this motivator was previously associated with many different types of compulsions, recent research has found that it no longer is associated as strongly with some of the symptoms. And the treatments have been less effective for some groups of people who didn't identify any feared consequences. So, in looking through the literature, I found that not just right experiences and incompleteness, so have played a role in some people's compulsions. So, not just right experiences are feelings that something is not how it should be, and incompleteness is the feeling that something isn't perfect. So, they're kind of related, but a little different. And interestingly enough, the majority of the population, including like you and me, we all experience not just right experiences as well. But in people with OCD, they experience them at more intense levels and more frequently. And this is how it leads to more distress and may ultimately lead to the compulsions to alleviate this distress. And um, so in my paper, I found that Not just right experiences and incompleteness actually had stronger connections with the symptoms such as ordering and checking than harm avoidance had in the past. So that kind of shows how not just right experiences and incompleteness have a significant role in OCD as well. And not just right experiences and incompleteness is interesting because normally people with OCD have also have associ- also have obsessive compulsive personality disorder, and I explored in the paper that these two types of motivators could actually explain the link between a person having both of these disorders. So, obsessive compulsive personality disorder is a lesser known mental health disorder and it may actually be what most people think of when they hear about OCD or see super organized homes. So, obsessive compulsive personality disorder is a chronic maladaptive pattern of excessive perfectionism, preoccupation with orderliness and detail, and the need to control one's environment that and this can all lead to distress. So it's understandable that most people think that um, I guess the stereotypical um, symptoms of OCD are actually similar to those of obsessive compulsive personality disorder. And with incompleteness and not just right experiences playing a role in connecting these two disorders, treatments that include these motivators have been shown to be effective over traditional treatments because, like I said before, not everybody has those feared consequences. So they have benefited so far from these types of modified treatments. And finally, with not just right experiences and incompleteness being kind of a new area of OCD research, it's really important to have a representative sample to explore how they affect people belonging to different groups. So, usually in OCD research, there are clinical samples and non clinical samples. So, non clinical samples in the research that I looked into for this paper, they usually included a large majority of Caucasians. And it is important to have a good diversity in the sample ethnically because cultural, nor- cultural norms have been shown to play a big part in in how someone reacts or interacts with their OCD. And um, between cultures, you often have different stigmas towards mental health, and sometimes it may be not desirable to speak out and seek help. So it's really important to get a more equal spread of the ethnicities in OCD research. And with clinical samples, it's important to get participants who also have different mental disorders because, like I explored in my paper, um, OCD can be associated with many other mental health disorders like OCPD, anxiety, and depression. And all of these have unique interactions with OCD and therefore can affect how one reacts to treatment and also kind of how their symptoms show up. So, um, not just our experiences are and incompleteness are gaining support for having a role in OCD, especially with the checking and ordering compulsions. And on top of these associations with OCD, has also been connected to other mental health disorders like OCPD. And identifying this new motivator has shown to be effective in new treatments. And in order to understand the full effects of these new motivators, representative samples need to be obtained in order to see how different people belonging to different groups interact with this motivator. So, and the final takeaway message is important to know about more about OCD because there's still a lot of misunderstanding in the general population and the media about the emotional distress that comes with it, what causes it, and what the symptoms look like, the compulsions. So, OCD is really not something that should be trivialized or even admired. And I hope that this paper can kind of inform people about the more, I guess, real aspect of OCD and how people live with it and what they have to live with as part of the disorder. And yeah.
Awesome. And then if you could, what advice would you give to any aspiring student researchers?
So I think I have three main points of advice. So first, don't be afraid to take a leap of faith into research. The process of getting into or actual research process itself may seem really daunting at the start. I know it was never something I had done before college, so I was really nervous about getting into it. Wasn't sure if I was going to be able to understand the articles or write a research paper, but you just kind of have to fall into it, and you also learn along the way, and you'll definitely have a lot of good mentors to guide you along the way too. So it is a continual learning process, but the end result is really rewarding. And secondly, make sure that when you commit to research, it's one of your top priorities because it is a big commitment time wise and effort wise. There's just so much information out there. I know when I was trying to research for this paper, I read probably over 100 articles just to get a general idea of how OCD research looked like right now and in comparison to the past. So it really takes a long time to sift through all the literature and get a firm grasp on the specific topic that you're looking into and also keep up on new developments. So it definitely has to be something at the top of your list that you're going to put a lot of time and effort into. And then finally, pursue what you're most passionate about. Because initially, when I came into college, I thought that I was going to do research in genetics because I was a biology major. And before getting into the Be True program, I was kind of nervous about switching up my whole academic journey and changing my major and my research focus to psychology. But I'm really glad I did because even though I may have to sit for hours and hours to read hundreds of research articles, it's really what I enjoy and I'm genuinely interested about. For example, like OCD, like I could sit here for hours and hours and just read about it because I just want to know how it works. So I think having a genuine passion for the specific research topic you're involved in is really important too.
Great. Thank you so much, Nicole.
No problem.